A progressive woman once told me that if she was my wife, she'd poison my coffee. I told her if I was her husband, I'd drink it. This is Alan Bordius, host of Their Finest Hour, Monday nights here on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
At Independent Journal Review, we publish news that is objective, fair, and entertaining. As one of the top websites in the United States, it's our duty to bring the absolute best to our readers. Readers like you. IJReview.com, your number one source for news and entertainment.
Hi, this is Missy Bordius. Join me as I share my womanly bits on the Conservative Feminist Show, 11 p.m. on Fridays, here on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Hi, I'm Dustin Hoyt with America Our Way, and you can hear me right here on Vigilant Liberty Radio at 10/9 Central on Thursday nights. We bring you the best in political commentary from the right-wing, conservative, libertarian perspectives coming together and bringing the best content on the internet. Be sure to tune in every week for your favorite shows. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
This is Chuck Dixon, the co-creator of Bane, and you're listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio.
At Independent Journal Review, we publish news that is objective, fair, and entertaining. As one of the top websites in the United States, it's our duty to bring the absolute best to our readers. Readers like you. IJReview.com, your number one source for news and entertainment.
Folks, welcome back to the show. This is The Right Mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausum. And we are waiting for our great friend of show and guest, Patty Newman, to call in. And we're going to talk to her about a handful of things. She actually just commented, Miller, while we were on the break, we were ending this talking about the whole vaccination deal. Mm-hmm. And I'll read what Patty just tweeted. Anti-vaxxers. It's not a party line thing. It's more like along stupid lines. And I'm sure I'm losing followers for saying this, but let's talk science. And that frankly, that was the question that Chris Wallace, that was the direct question that Chris Wallace asked Ben Carson. He said, and I quote, "You're talking about this in a very clinical scientific way, as a noted brain surgeon would, Dr. Carson. Some Democrats say there's elements of the Republican Party, both candidates and voters, who deny science, whether it's vaccinations or climate change or evolution. Do you think that criticism is fair?" And then Carson said, no, it's not fair at all. It's not a partisan issue. You look in California, the places where outbreaks have occurred are largely blue areas. Democratic areas where people have said they don't need them anymore. The reason they don't think they need them anymore is because we've had such an effective vaccination program, you're not seeing diseases. And that's that. Now, I understand we got Patty on the line. Yeah. Hi, Patty.
Hi, how are you, Mike?
Welcome.
So
Patty, you obviously don't have an opinion on vaccinations one way or the other after that message to Michael.
No, I really do. I really do have an opinion. I think it is It is ridiculous. I mean, just knowing the history of these awful diseases that were pretty much exterminated, at least in America, like polio and some of the more deadly viruses that we don't have anymore. And for people to just go with the fake science about, the level of, I don't know, lead and mercury or whatever it is, it's just ignoring the fact that we've improved the vaccines and we save a lot of lives. I've heard another excuse too. I've heard that it's all the illegal, but let me tell you, in Mexico, and my brother still practices medicine in Mexico. He's a pediatrician. In Mexico, the vaccination system is a little on the, how would you say, the authoritarian side.
Right.
Every single child, if they are going to school, and most of them are, at least first through third grade, are mandatory in Mexico, if you didn't know that, the nurses are sent to the schools, and they vaccinate everybody. So the compliance level in Mexico for immunizations is higher than the U.S. It's in the high 90%.
Right.
You know what,
Okay,
Patty,
so
I've heard of that.
That's not
it's,
where we're getting the measles from.
I've heard that it's not just Mexico, that lots of places in South America have unbelievably high vaccination rates.
They do. It is. I do agree with the conservatives that say it should be a voluntary thing. Of course it should be. But, let's be informed about it. Let's really, read the background information and not go with the conspiracy theories, because you really put at risk a lot of people. And let me tell you, being in the healthcare industry, the only time that I have waited to immunize our children is when the vaccine was fairly new, and we waited just to make sure that they didn't have some kind of crazy unintended consequence. So we, when the kids were little, that influenza vaccine didn't exist, and when they brought it out, we did wait a couple years. But other than that, no.
Well,
totally.
let me ask you this, Patty, because one of the perspectives on this, and I will not mention this person's name on air. You and I can talk about it separately. That really surprised me. This was on Saturday night. I saw something that they had put on their Facebook wall to reveal that they were a major anti-vaxxer, and it really surprised me. But one of the arguments that was included was, hey, look, with my particular kids, I'm concerned that one of the small percentage likelihood side effects could negatively impact my child. I do not want that impacting my child. It's my right to not have my child be potentially impacted by that. But since everybody else is vaccinated, I'm going to, piggyback on the herd benefits of vaccination. So what's the problem? How would you respond to that? Because obviously, if every single kid in the county is vaccinated, if I don't vaccinate my kid, I'm all right. But if 1 out of 5 parents makes that same decision, then the whole thing falls apart. So how do you address that?
Well, it's a legitimate excuse not to. It is a choice after all, and it's a free country. You do get protection from the majority of people being vaccinated. And if you, I don't know, maybe if you really are concerned about autism or something like that, maybe there's family history, maybe, it's legit. So I'm okay with that. The problem is that the percentage of people that are not getting vaccines is reaching the 20% figure, and that is dangerous. So
Patty,
I think that's why the Disneyland cases spread like that. I think it was probably some Asian country, foreigner, that where immunizations are not as standard as America in general, North South America. But then when you have a large percentage of the population not getting their kids immunized, then you get an issue like you have with the Disneyland case.
So, Patty, let me ask you this. While I also agree, as you said a while back, with the point of view, regardless of party affiliation, although I think more conservatives believe the fact that this should not be mandated by the government. It should be choice, but it should be an educated choice. Here's my question. It perplexes me a bit as it relates to the liberals. Liberal areas in California. Mike, you talked about Marin County and stuff. Liberals are in our face all the time over global warming, aka climate science, with the whole, conservatives ignore science. The science is in, as Al Gore said. There's no more doubt. They use that against us constantly. Why? I mean, what, in your opinion, they, in effect, ignoring science as it relates to vaccinations? Why do they do that?
Why did the liberals do that? Well, with the
because they're all about
science,
science, but not in vaccinations, right?
I like Dr. Carson said, I really don't think this is a right-left issue. With climate science, I think it is a left issue, and just recently, there was information that came out that this is the biggest scam ever. The so-called scientists were doctoring the figures on climate change, global warming.
Listen.
Weather,
I don't think
whatever they want to call it now.
I don't think vaccination is a political issue either. I think we all agree on that. But there are large pockets of liberals who, again, are, in my mind, hypocritical about the fact that they throw science at conservatives as it relates to climate change, aka pretend, whatever have you. But you have many of those same liberals then choosing to ignore science as a proof source as it relates to vaccinations. See, and again, I'm not saying it's a political issue. In fact, we said before you came on, it's not a political issue. But I'm just kind of focusing down on this one area as it relates to science and the hypocrisy by some on the left of throwing science at conservatives over climate change, yet choosing to ignore it when it relates to vaccinations.
I don't know, like our friend Evan Sayed says, they make no sense. There is no sense to their assumptions and their proclamations. I mean, it's whatever benefits. I think their biggest motivation is votes, and if they can create some kind of a crisis, and if they can blame the pharmaceutical companies, the evil capitalists, then it serves their purpose. So I just don't think they ever make sense. So,
well, they don't.
That's my best guess.
And they don't care about making sense. Because at everything, and we said this earlier today, is related to other areas. Everything they do, everything they support, you can connect with at least, sometimes one dot, sometimes a few more, but to the ballot box. It's to your point and to our point and others. It's all about the ballot box and votes.
Oh, absolutely. And their progressive agenda. It really, I wanted to that's a good segue for what we were going to talk about.
Yeah, and let's talk about it.
The progressive agenda is so strong and overwhelming that I think it really leads them to a lot of their policies. And, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Science doesn't matter. All that matters is control of the population and getting everybody convinced that they're the ones to vote for because they're going to save you and rescue you from all evils in the world.
By the way, before we continue to the listening folk, Hausum has left the building to return to an obligation. But okay, so Obamacare. Reimbursement. I mean, I don't know if everyone on knows your medical background and so forth. Probably not, because we're growing as we speak. But you are very qualified. Let me just tell the folks to talk about this because you know a heck of a lot about it. So, what's on your mind as it relates to Obamacare and reimbursement?
Well, the reimbursement, the scheme. There was a reason